everyone. I did my informative speech over the Titanic and its wonderful wonders, I would say, and how significant it was to history today. Even though being it a disaster, I would say I say wonderful wondrous wonders because it's like the Ring of Fire or the Bermuda Triangle. Those are a lot of mystery, all mysterious things that have happened, and how people have went previously missing, and now they're trying to figure out why. But we know what happened to the Titanic. I'm just saying, like, how they're all kind of interesting topics. Like, they're mind picking. Like, you're trying to figure out what happened. Oh, why did this happen? Those things like that. Like, trying to pick in, like, how to have. Well, I wish I could be there to see. Not really, but to see how did this event happen and why. But we all know why it happened. Previously, in every book that I've read or previously researched, like for example, Wreck of the Titanic by Morgan Robinson or by Geoff Tibbles with the Titanic, or Donald Lynch when he said the illustrated version of the Titanic, and they're all part of when it left April 10th, 1912, around 1:30 p.m., and how all the wealth people were coming in. The wealthiest man, whose net worth back then was 3.2 million, as well as foreign people coming from all across America to come see this wonderful ship and what it brings, being the largest, most luxurious, most safest, that they claimed that this is the ship to be on, to come to enjoy, to have to take a break, take a vacation. But it turns out, we found out that it was not that kind of ship. It was that kind of ship, but the events that happened to it, when nobody knew the iceberg wasn't him, but they were previously warned that do not go that route because it is around a certain time, winter. Icebergs do move around the Atlantic Ocean more frequently than other oceans, and being that they were coming from Southampton to New York, they could have took a different route, but they chose a shorter cut way to go, which if they were alive back then, they would have been like, I wish I would have took a different way. But the Titanic overall was the largest, most safest, once again, luxurious ship. People coming all around the world. It was 882 feet long, 46 tons. It was said to be the largest, even larger than marine ships, warships, type what's it called? The subs underwater was larger, more wider. It accommodated 2,345 passengers and 860 crew members, in which and only 1,500 were left to survive for the voyage. It was said that when it was hit by the iceberg, water compartments were punctured, being that they were filling rapidly and within the boat. It was basically hit on the side. On the side of the boat, it was hit right there, as you can see, at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. As it was sinking, it hit from the back. So it went down, it was basically slanted up. They said for about like maybe 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, as I do my research. And they said that they couldn't even send distress. They tried to send distress signals, but who were you to send a distress signal to? Because you're in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Atlantic. There's no near ships near you. There's no land near you. It was just a bad luck situation, in which Thresh stated that there was only 20 lifeboats on the ship, and that only enough for about the 2,220 people were aboard that boat, with lifeboats filling quickly with women and children first, then men, more who were of wealth, and then everybody else followed along. And I find that when they portrayed that in the movie The Titanic by James Cameron, it was so realistic because he wanted to portray the image of this is what's happening. And they said that Cameron assembled the amount of time he assembled the time and the amount of production, which was 6 months, that he wanted to show us what it looked like today versus when it happened. And of course they had a love story involved with it as well, which didn't happen, but they turned it around. And upon his voyage, They did a wreck on the ocean floor. That's how it looks today on the ocean floor. The rails at the beginning of the ship. Also at the bottom. That's how it looks today. How it sits at the bottom of the ocean floor. Actually, parts of the ocean floor of the Titanic are actually scanned over time. It does rust and does break apart. But the steel that they made with it was so good that you can still see it. You can go into when they did an expedition, when they went down to the submarine, they took 12 trips into the wreck site between 10 to 12 hours to see like the remains and try to connect all the dots together and from beginning to end. And I would say like making the Titanic was extremely expensive for James Cameron, but he portrayed a message to the world that this is history. You cannot forget history. You cannot forget what happened. Yes, it might be something small, but it was a very big thing that happened back in 1912. It was, nobody never thought this could happen. It had never happened in before. Yes, ships would go all the time, but it was so significant. People had caught frostbite in the water, and it was just unbearable. Some of them, they said that about 706 bodies were turned up in the water when they went back to go find them. And that's scary to even see somebody that you loved or you were with on that boat in the water or at the bottom or still floating as they were getting rescued. Another boat was coming along and that 4-day departure after when it sunk, maybe like within 12 hours, somebody else came aboard and saw them in the lifeboats, and that's what helped them be saved. So I would say like portraying the Titanic, I would say is very simply easy, but to dig deep in onto the history of who was on the boat, how the boat was made, how significant it is to dig deep into the history, and what does it mean to you. And even as you're reading about it, you're trying to understand the journey as if you were there. So I find it highly significant from beginning to end, especially when the iceberg hit the boat. But in my opinion, I believe that if somebody tells you that that route was not good, then it would have been highly avoided. But at the same time, reasons for sharing this history is that it's knowledgeable. It's important to be knowledgeable about your past, and also certain topics you can also dig more deep into it and find out what really sparks your interest as well.